If I ask the question, what is security? What would be your answer? So you can come up with different answers. Some people can say protection, confidentiality, unauthorized access, preventing unauthorized access. So different answers for this question. So because it's tricky, right? So if anybody asks, what is security? Everybody knows. If everybody has a feeling about security, they say that it's secure and it's not secure. You can say that. But what is exactly security? And sometimes we may have seen in Sri Lanka, the security guards are there. And then whenever, company wants to reduce the cost, sometimes the first option would be removing security. Because for them, they don't do anything. They just standing and waiting, sitting and waiting. They're reading newspapers, helping vehicles to park. But you don't see that they are doing anything, right? So even cleaning lady, even front end people, so you can see they are doing something. But when it comes to security, security guards are not doing anything, right? They just stay. So because of that, you think that these guys are not doing anything, just get rid of them. So then they will send them home. But the issue is, right? But the issue is, we don't understand what is security exactly, right? So in order to improve security, what we do in our houses, we build a wall around the house, and we install CCTV systems, right? We use padlocks, right? What are we exactly doing by these? Let's try to understand this one. So there are main five elements in security known as CIA triad and also authenticity. Sorry. The next one is authenticity, and fourth one is non-repudiation. So these are the five elements of security. So irrespective of the type of security, it can be cyber security, it can be general security, state security, Sri Lanka as a state security. So these are the five elements that we are trying to protect. These are known as CIA triad. What are those? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are the main three elements of security. Any terms of any type of security, state security, physical security, even cyber security. So, what do you mean by confidentiality? So, mostly used method to make sure the confidentiality, or even before you ensure the confidentiality. So, what is confidentiality? Confidentiality is prevent unauthorized access to your data or premises. Unauthorized access prevention, right? So how can it be done? First, we need to first we need to understand who are the authorized people. How to make sure the authorized people? That is, we use very primitive, preliminary, basic method, but still it's effective. That is known as by username and the password. Right? So username and password combination, right? I think you have seen in many systems, Linux, Windows, Android, iOS, anything. What do you mean by username? So username is actually identification. So identification is I need to identify myself. I'm Kushanta, and Achira has to say I'm Achira. Arun says Arun. So that is your identification. But identification itself is not enough because anybody can impersonate. What do you mean by impersonate? Then Malisha can say I'm Arun, Arun can say I'm Pranidhi. So that is that in that way you can impersonate. In order to in order to protect from this impersonation, every system configured with a passphrase or password. So that is to verify your identification. That is known as verification. So that is, in other words, to verify your identification, we use password. So passwords are not introduced by computers or cybersecurity. Even King's time in Sri Lanka, they use passphrases. Murapadaya, it was used before a few thousand years ago. So to pass Malaya to, Ruhunu Pihiti Maya, and from Ruhunu to Pihiti, in order to enter, access entrance or access gates or whatever the border, you need to provide your Murapadaya. That is exactly the password, right? So then username and password combination build if you have credentials or valid username and password combination, that is built authentication. So authentication meaning identification and verification. So Chandima will have to provide Chandima's username and password to enter a system. That is authentication, not authorization still. Authentication. And Achira can say my username and password, Achira's username and password. And once you authenticated, now let's say everybody is authenticated. Does it mean everybody has same access? No, right? Because some people will have more access because they are using more, responsibility, which means higher roles. Let's say if Achira is a senior manager, he will have more access. If Samira is a junior manager, he will have lesser access. So in that way, access level will be different, even you authenticated. So authentication doesn't mean that you have access to all the data and services. All right. So then how to make sure that is known as authorization. Authorization. So you're authorized. So higher or senior managers will have more access, junior managers will have lesser access. That will be configured typically by IT team. Typically, IT guys will be configuring authorization database as per the instruction given by management or HR, depending on the organization. So IT configure that authorization. So then once they provide the level of access, these users will get respective level access, need to know basis, need to know basis. What do you mean by need to know basis? So need to know basis is respective level of access based on something called least permission policy. What is least permission policy? That is very important in security. We will be providing access to only perform their respective job, right? Not more than that. Now, for example, we have different administrative roles. We have enterprise administrator, we have password administrator, we have user administrator in Microsoft systems and cloud as well. So what does it mean? So enterprise administrator will have access to all the resources and do anything in the environment. He has most access. Are we going to assign everybody in IT as an enterprise administrator? No, depending on the role. So there are people work in IT who would only perform password reset of the user. So what they do is whenever user comes to IT, they will reset the password. Do they need enterprise administrator rights? No, they don't need enterprise because enterprise, if with enterprise administrator permissions, even they can, demote Active Directory domain services. So domain services can be demoted. They can shut down the servers. They can disable servers. They can uninstall services. They can remove the services. They can remove the users. They can do pretty much anything. They can completely destroy the environment. But password administrator will have only permission to reset a password. So if that is his job, why are we going to give higher access? That is known as need to know or least permission policy. So based on that, we provide authorization. That's the reason everybody will not have same access. So they will have respective access. I hope you understand. So that is known as authorization. That is one of the main ways to make sure the confidentiality. Confidentiality in Sinhala is rahasya bhavya, right? Rahasya bhavya is confidentiality. So in order to make sure confidentiality, we do authentication and authorization. And do you think by doing this, authorization will provide complete confidentiality? Do you think? Guys, please respond. Do you think Hitanamada, by authentication and authorization, can we provide complete confidentiality? So if you provide only the respective level of access, do you think that would provide complete confidentiality? What? Yeah. Prabhat says no. Why? Why you say no? The reason is, Prabhat is correct. Now the reason is, let's think about this situation. Now there is a guy let's say this is Nimesh. Nimesh is a senior manager, and he has valid username and password, which means authentication. And he is a senior manager. He has highest level of access to data, for an example. And with this authorization, he access the cloud, for an example, and he has his own laptop. He download very confidential and sensitive data to his laptop, right? Because he has authorization. And once he has done that, there was another guy, possibly an attacker, steal this device. I hope you understand. So Nimesh has access to the data, confidential information of the company, and he downloaded it to his laptop, right? And someone else, attacker, has stolen his laptop. Now what would be the situation? Now the situation would be this guy, an attacker, without valid username and password, without authentication, without authorization, now has access to the data. I hope you understand, right? So that is why authorization itself will not provide the complete confidentiality. So Prabhat is correct. So there are these kind of different situations. Now for that, we can encrypt the device, right? So that is something else. Once you encrypt it, now even attacker steals the device, he will not be able to access. But there are different scenarios. Now, does it provide does it provide complete confidential if you encrypt the device? You know what is encryption? Sometimes some people may not know. Don't worry about it now because 20th module is cryptography. I will explain everything in encryption. You will understand then, right? So then encryption is converting human readable format to unreadable format using a key and algorithm. So without key, this guy now will not be able to access the data. Now that provides another level of confidentiality, right? I hope you understand. Does it provide complete confidentiality? What do you think? Does it provide complete confidentiality to encrypt the data? Still no. Because now Nimesh has access here, and let's say Pranidhi is one of his colleagues, and she's working from home. Don't worry about my, artistic skills are really low. So I'm drawing very ugly images. So, but just to explain, I think that is enough, right? So, right. So this is Pranidhi. I don't think she's like this, right? So anyway, now what I'm trying to say is now Nimesh knows Pranidhi's again, person who should be accessing this data, and he will try to attach this document in a mail and send it to Pranidhi. Now this is Pranidhi, right? Now during this transmission, another person here, let's say another attacker, can snip it, can read what's going through the line. Again, compromising. We need to look at that as well in order to provide complete confidentiality. That is another question. Now, let's say that also we secure by encryption. We can secure the network. So then we prevent this guy not to intercept the data. So that is known as interception. That also I will explain during the session, right? So then you are sending security to Pranidhi, right? But what is the, what is the assurance that Nimesha has Pranidhi would not forward it to someone else? I hope you understand, right? So then let's say Nimesha has credentials and he downloaded it. Now device is secure with encryption. Communication secure, during the communication, that's fine. But when that comes to Pranidhi, right? Now Nimesha thinks Pranidhi keeps the data safe. But what if she forward this message to someone else, right? She forward this to attacker directly, right? Now this Pranidhi is known as insider. Insider. I'm just using your names randomly, right? Don't worry about this. I'm trying to explain this security posture. That's the reason I'm just using random names. Don't worry, don't be sort of offended. Now she has become an insider. Who's insider? Who's insider? Insider is a untrustworthy employee, right? I'm just using name, right? Don't get offended. So now she has become insider because he is full-time employee. Because of that, Nimesh send the information to her, thinking that she is trustworthy because we think everybody as a trustworthy people, but she's forwarded to competitor. Now someone will access that, right? We need to look at that as well. Right. Let's imagine she's not inside an insider or she's not doing something like that. But what if now these insiders intentionally share this information to external people? But what if Pranidhi share this without intention? So she doesn't have an intention to share company secrets to competitors, but unintentionally, sometimes without thinking or without the knowledge, without she doesn't know that this is confidential. Sometimes we don't know. Unless because you are an internal employee, for you it's not confidential. That's the trick. So if you're working for an organization, sometimes it's not confidential to you. But without intention, she shared this with someone. So that is another one, right? So I hope you understand. Right. So we spent considerable amount in that, but don't worry, I will cover the content, right? So that is confidential. So just keep this aside. Now I hope you understand some level of confidentiality. And the next one is integrity. Integrity is accuracy of data or data, the trustworthiness of data. For an example, integrity meaning the data shouldn't be changed during the stay, during the storage, or during the transaction by unauthorized people. So it doesn't mean data shouldn't be changed. Data can change, but only by the authenticated or by the authorized people. That is integrity. So we need to make sure the integrity is there. And then the next one is availability. The availability is the services and resources should be there for authorized people as and when required. So that is known as authorization. Oh, sorry, availability. Now we discuss confidentiality. We discuss how we can protect, how we can assure confidentiality. Integrity is the trustworthiness of data. So data shouldn't be changed by unauthorized people. Availability is data should be there or services should be there for the legitimate users as and when required. That is the third one. Then authentication, I explained, having a valid username and password or having a credentials. And non-repudiation is a bit different. That is to make sure that users are liable for their communication. For an example, if Samir sends something out, Samir shouldn't be in a position to deny his communication later. Something like our politicians, right? So they say that I will do this and that, and next day they come to the same radio station and say that, or same TV in front of TV that I have never said that. I have not said that, something like that. With even media shows that you said this, they say simply no. So in security, we need to make sure that the users are liable for this communication. So those are the 5 elements. I hope you understand. If you look at this one, yeah. So Prabhat is asking, thanks for asking this question, Prabhat. Then you encourage everyone else to ask questions too. Thanks for that. So he's asking an email example for non-repudiation. No and yes. The reason is email itself not provide the non-repudiation because email is not a trustworthy communication. In email, we will be using a protocol known as SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This is damn vulnerable protocol, or it's not provide built in any security. For an example, even I can install SMTP service in my computer and can send a mail pretending like who? Let's say uh, uh, American president. I can send a mail as him because it can be spoofed. Mail can be spoofed. I can send as Achira, I can send as Samir, I can send as Pranidhi, I can pretend. So because of that, email itself doesn't provide non-repudiation, but there are technologies like PGP, pretty good privacy, and S-MIME. So these techniques can provide non-repudiation. So non-repudiation will be provided using digital signature.